Hello, my name is Ilona and today is Monday, March 4th, 2024, and my plant has just temporarily in this position because it just didn't work out the other the thing I had. So I'm still working on that. So this is just temporarily. And this is very interesting because the video I looked at in the Dutch video is something that's happening in the Dutch educational system. But I do believe that this is also happening in other educational systems. So also in America, in other countries. So I do want to talk about this because this is interesting. It's called, we have now a week. It's like spring fever. That's probably the best translation, Week van de Lentekriebels, and it is about educating children about intimacy at a very young age. And it's really about these packets given by the Ministry of Health. And here in the Netherlands, they approved of that. But the schools are allowed to not use those packets, not use those lessons. They are allowed to take in, how they want to shape it. But this is very interesting. So there's a lot of information. First of all, there's been a lot of critical, voices about what's happening because they're using all kinds of strange things here for the education, very young age. But I've noticed that especially this week, it started this week. So this coming week here in the Netherlands, schools all around the Netherlands, talking about this education, that there's been a media offensive to target people that are critical about this. And that is very interesting to see. So we have all these articles, and of course in my Dutch video I really talk about these articles as well because it's very Dutch oriented. But the point is that it's really about, discouraging people to talk about this, to be critical about this. The parents shouldn't be critical about this. And there were so many articles. There's also someone who talked about how stupid these people are. This is really in a Dutch big newspaper. So someone it's like a column is talking about this and really is like, are all these conservatives and these dumb people and don't know what they're talking about. This is very good for children. And the theme is actually for this week is making children resilient on the internet, online. And it's really just a very, very sick way to target this. And the interesting thing is that I found also an article and what they want to talk about. So this is group 1 here in the Netherlands. These are 4-year-olds. So about the body and about the bodies, the differences between boys and girls. 4 years old. At 5 years old, so this is group 2 here in the Netherlands. And I think it's called middle school. I think it's similar. And this is about the differences between boys and girls and typical behavior, boys and girls behavior. And I'm like, this has something to do with gender. If I'm not mistaken, the gender neutrality is really, they're really pushing that as well. So this would be a perfect time to also talk about that. And these are 5-year-olds. Well, they're not even going to hide it because in group 3, these are children, there are 6 and 7-year-olds. This is the focus on creating a positive self-image. And it can be clear that they can fall in love with someone from the same or a different gender. This is mentioned here in an article. Or you can fall in love with someone that has more than one gender. Right, because 6 and 7 years old really need to hear about this. It's a confusing time, but in children everything is possible. So actually, how do you say this? Using that in a way magical time and to infiltrate and indoctrinate them already with, you can be anything you want to be. You don't have to be a boy or a girl. It's starting at 6, 7 years old, and it really is not getting any better when they are older. It's just getting older. Group 4 and group 5. It's just in group 6, if I'm not mistaken, let's see, that's 8, 9, 10. They're 10 years old. They actually get an explanation about, their genitals and things like that. Because really, you need to know that when you're like 10 years old. If I'm not mistaken, I got my first education when I was like 11, 12 years old, which is, a little bit, and it was very simplified. But this is starting at an extremely young age already talking about this. And this has all been approved by the Ministry of Health here in the Netherlands. Yes. So it's just shocking to see how many articles just to attack these people and parents that are actually worried about this. Let's see. There was blogs actually dedicated to this as well. Like, this is about protecting your children. So why would you even go against this? It's just shocking to read, really. So I actually started looking, and there are also a lot of, they also mentioned this in an article from AD. Of course, these are all Dutch articles because, like I've mentioned, this is a very Dutch-oriented subject. But like I've also wanted to point out that this is happening worldwide. This is also happening in the USA, happening around the world in classrooms to push this agenda. And this article is about all these flyers from parents who are against this, and the minister, that actually is pushing this, thinks this is not acceptable. This is unacceptable. It's very important that children need to deal with this and learn from this. And I just wanted to know, maybe the World Economic Forum had something to say about this as well. Well, they do. This is an article from 2019, The Life-Saving Power of Certain Education for Children. There's also, and this is, I thought was very interesting, this is from last February 2023, Safer Internet Day 2023, bolstering the fight to protect children online. And like I've mentioned, that's the theme for this week in the Netherlands, to protect your children, to have them, be resilient on the internet. Interesting. I also found something else which I thought was very interesting as well. This is a fact check from USA Today, and this is about the UN advocating to, not criminalize certain intimacy with minors. And this is about they published in March 1st, 2023. This is 8 March principles, and this is like not just from the United Nations, this is also from the World Health Organization. And it says something about consensual conduct, intimacy conduct. This is principle 16. Moreover, this conduct involving persons below the domestically prescribed minimal age of consent to, intimacy may be consensual in fact, if not in law. In this context, the enforcement of criminal law should reflect the rights and capacity of persons under 18 years of age to make decisions about engaging in consensual conduct and their right to be heard in matters concerning them. And actually this fact checker is mentioning, they didn't mean it like that. This is about like 17 years old. But let's face it, by putting it in this like principles manuscript, they are talking about a very slippery slope, because maybe someone from 15 could agree to that, or 14, because really that's a broad stroke there. And interestingly enough, I also found an article, this is from the People's Voice. They're talking about the World Economic Forum declares that, let's just say PDF files, PDF, I will just call them PDFs from now on, that will save humanity. I couldn't find anything really about this, if these tweets were correct or not. But there were some very interesting things in there. Also that CNN has been really pushing things for quite some time. In 2011, they have this article about the myth of the monster of the PDFs. So this is a myth apparently. And they actually came out later on in 2012 with Do PDFs Deserves Sympathy? CNN. Yes, great. And of course, there are more, let's see, this is from the BBC. The young PDFs files who say they don't do things to children. Really, this is from 2017. They've been working on this for quite some time. And they've also been changing it. Of course, they want to change it now to MAPS, minor attractive persons. It's really just sickening if you think about this. So the World Health Organization is apparently also involved in this. But another thing that I found in this article as well, this is a case in New Zealand. And this is from 2022. So this is quite recently. New Zealand judge declares 12-year-old children can consent. This was a case about a man, 45-year-old man, and apparently claimed that the 12-year-old kind of wanted it, which is sickening in itself. But apparently the judge kind of went along with it. Legally, a person under 16 cannot give consent for charges of these acts. Of course, that's what he said to the jury. Or you need to decide if these acts took place. But as for this intimacy, a person under 16 can give consent. You need to consider whether or not the consent was given based on the evidence you have. This is what a judge said in New Zealand. Right. Something else that was also interesting was what's happening in France. And apparently there is no legal age of consent, which is interesting. I looked into it. I found an article here. This is a Dutch article from 2018, but this is from March. That they were going to change the law, and apparently 15 would have been the age of consent. But I also found a French article that, of course, translated because my French is not very good. And apparently, and this is from August of 2018, there is no age of consent. There's no real age put in there. But if you look at the age of consent just worldwide, in France, it is so-called 15. So this is just very, very interesting. Very interesting. I just wanted to talk about this, what's going on there. But I also taken a look at this week that's going on in the Netherlands. What is the energy? And I do believe that this card reading is also talking about worldwide, with parents getting involved in the education of their children, wanting to know what they really are being taught. And the cards I've got was the Wheel of Fortune. The Death card was the central card. We've got the Nine of Swords in the past. We've got the Six of Pentacles underneath the Death card. And for the future, we've got the Six of Wands and the Four of Cups. To me, this feels like there's going to be a victory for the parents not accepting this anymore. I do believe that parents are starting to stand up, wondering what their children actually are being taught. Here in the Netherlands, they're standing up, but I do believe worldwide they are not going to tolerate this kind of education anymore, with all these agendas coming from high up. I'm talking United Nations, World Health Organization, World Economic Forum. It's all being pushed down, because why is this suddenly so prevalent everywhere here in the Netherlands on all these schools? Like I've mentioned, this is voluntarily here in the Netherlands. Schools can really, make their own curriculum about this. But I see that it's really ending. This entire thing is ending. It's moving things in the directions, and it's bringing balance. So I do believe that this is really about waking up people, also about this education system and all these influences on the education system and on children that's been going on for so long. So this is so important that things like this are being brought out in the open, in the light. But I do believe that ultimately the parents will win. There will be a victory. They won't tolerate this anymore. They won't accept this cup anymore with the poisonous things that they give to children at such a young age. 6-7-year-olds talking about gender and multiple genders and other things. They're trying to cover it up with all these articles aimed at people that are critical, that they're stupid and that are very conservative. But really, when you look at what's really being taught, there are so many things, so many levels of wrong in there. Young children should not be taught about these things. Not in this way, not about anyone else but their parents. They are the ones that need to talk about children if they feel, if they have a certain age and understand what's going on. 4, 5, 6-year-olds shouldn't be confronted with this, especially not by people outside of their parents. I truly believe that. I do see victory here. I don't think that this is going to last very long, especially with the deaf card. It is ending, and we're really in the times with all these crazy agendas are coming out to really open people's minds. So I'd like to leave it at this. Hope to see you in another video. Bye.